Hi everyone and welcome. Let us start off today in a comfortable seated position. Cross-legged, one chin in front of the other. Close your eyes, allow your shoulders to relax. Let's begin breathing in and out through the nose. Deeper inhales and longer drawn out exhales. Softening your shoulders, your arms, your legs. Body is relaxed, mind is set and centered. Let's take one more inhale and exhale. All right, gently open your eyes. Welcome everyone. Let us start off today on our hands and knees, coming down into tabletop position. We'll begin by letting the belly drop. And the next exhale, round your spine, draw back into child's pose. Softening here a little. Inhale, come on back up. Belly drop, lift the chin, turn your gaze up. Exhale, round the spine, draw back. And just at your own pace here, just moving with the breath. Inhale, belly drop. Lift the chin, exhale, draw back. And back. Next time you come forward, come on down to your hands and into your hands and knees. Walk your hands slightly over to the right side of the mat and draw back as though you're coming into child's pose. So stretching your hips up and back instead. So just getting a good stretch to the left side of the body. And inhale, come on back into the center. Walk your hands over to the other side and just do the same thing. Draw back, pressing the hips up and back, still on your knees. And coming back into a tabletop position. Now let's get ready to come into our first downward facing dog from here. Just curling your toes under. Good spread to the fingers. Lift the hips up and back. Okay to have the knees slightly bent. Looking for a nice long spine. Pressing down into your hands, your fingers. You can adjust a little here so that you get even spread of the weight between your hands and your feet. Pedal out your feet here. Bend one knee. Press the other heel down towards the mat. And switch. A little cracking here is normal. Just going to continue pedaling out the feet. Just at your own pace. And eventually finding your way back to downward facing dog. Both legs a little straighter, those heels reaching down towards the mat. A big inhale. And at the end of this exhale, send your gaze up in between the hands and walk your feet to the top of the mat to come into a forward bend. Knees can be slightly bent and let's let the upper body relax forward. Feel free to move your head. Nod yes. Gently shake no. You can roll out your shoulders here or sway the upper body from side to side, just keeping the movement very, very gentle, slow and controlled. Eventually finding your way back to a forward bend to soften here. And keeping your knees gently bent. You're going to make your way up to standing. Drawing the shoulders away from your ears, making sure you're standing nice and tall. And just bring your hands into a prayer position. Good. Let's get ready to move. With your big inhale, stretch your arms out, reach up overhead, let the palms touch. And as you exhale, fold into a forward bend. Listen strong as you release forward bend. Inhale, lift up halfway for flat back. So your hands can be on your shins, your thighs, on the ground, just looking for a figure 7 shape. And exhale, plant your hands on the mat. Let's walk the first one back into a high push-up position, stepping one foot at a time back into high push-up. Okay, so we've got high push-up. You can lower the knees down onto the mat here for a softer version. Or we're taking low push-up with the elbows tucked in close to the body. So hug the elbows close in, strong in the abdominal muscles as you lower. And inhale, draw through into a cobra. Okay, gentle back bend. Only go as high as necessary. You're going to feel a good stretch at the front of the body. And next exhale, curl the toes under, lift up and back into downward facing dog. Yes, adjust here, settle here, and take a couple more deep breaths. Press down into those fingers. We should have those hands and feet about hips width apart. A good inhale. And at the end of this next exhale, gaze in between the hands. Step, walk, or hop your feet up to the top of the mat. Next inhale, lift up halfway for flat back. Exhale to fold into forward bend. And inhale, let's come all the way back up. Stretch your arms out. Reach. Let the palms meet overhead. Maybe a gentle back bend. And then come back to standing hands in prayer. Let's keep going here. Inhale, stretch the arms overhead. Exhale, fold into forward bend. Excellent. Inhale, lift up halfway for flat back. Exhale, hands on the mat. Step or hop back into your high push-up position. From your toes or from your knees, take low push-ups, strong. Inhale through into cobra. If you're taking up dog here, be sure to contract those glutes. Tighten up those leg muscles as you lift up. Careful. And exhale. Let's take it back into downward facing dog. Pressing up and back, down dog. In your down dog, float the right leg up. So just being very careful. You can take it about hip height, a little higher than that. Just trying to keep everything level, shoulders and hips level. Hold it here, one more deep breath. And then bring that right foot and step it forward into a runner's lunge. You want to make sure that the front knee is aligned over the front ankle and the back leg is nice and strong. Letting the hips sink down and forward a little to get a deeper stretch to the front of those left hips. And just settle here for a moment. One more deep breath. And keeping that left hand on the ground, place your right hand on your right thigh as you rotate the chest towards the right side of the mat. And the back leg is still nice and strong. Try not to lean too much into that left hand, so keep those legs strong. And if you want a little bit more, you can reach that right hand up towards the ceiling. Option to bring that right arm across the low back, palm facing outwards, and this way you can press that right shoulder open just a little bit more. Hold it here, one more deep breath. And exhale, unwind, bring both hands back down into the mat. Step back into a high push-up. You can head right back into downward facing dog here or flow, taking your low push-up, cobra, up dog, and exhaling it back into downward facing dog. Good. Next, we'll float that left leg up high, three-legged dog. Again, just trying to keep everything level. Do your best. Same left foot steps forward into a runner's lunge. Carefully place it forward. Take your time. No rush at all. Let those hips sink down a little. Check the alignment. Back toes curled under. Front knee over front ankle. Keep that breath flowing. Okay, and then we'll plant that right hand down onto the mat. Again, try not to lean too much into it as you rotate your chest over to the left side. Now, you might just stay right here, okay? Or you might want to take that left hand, stretch it up towards the ceiling. Finally, you might bring that left arm across the low back and just press that left shoulder open. Might feel really nice here. Just hold it here. Keep breathing. Good, one more. And then release. Bring that left hand back down to the mat. Step that front foot back. So you can either head right back into a downward facing dog at this point or flow. Shifting forward and taking your vinyasa. Low push-up. Cobra up dog. And back into downward facing dog. At the end of this exhale, gaze in between the hands. Feet to the top of the mat. Stepping it up or hopping it up. And try light hop here. Bend your knees, bend your elbows, and a light hop. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, let's come all the way back up. Stretch out, maybe a gentle back bend. And exhale, bring your hands back to prayer. Always nice to add a little side stretch here. So at the top of your mat, bring your hands into prayer position. We're going to reach the arms overhead. Interlace fingers, point your index fingers, and take it over to the left side. So hips slightly over to the right, fingers over to the left. Nice, hold it here. One more deep breath, and bring it back to the center, and repeat the same thing on the other side. Good. Inhale back to the center. Release your hands, interlace the fingers behind your back. So you can take the same grip as before, or you can just interlace fingers. Press the hands away from the hips and bow forward. Your knees can be slightly bent, but relax your neck, your facial muscles, and deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. One more. Exhale, release the hands, let the arms just relax down onto the mat. Next, inhale, lift up halfway flat back. Exhale, hands on the mat, step, walk, or hop your feet back into high push-up position, taking low. Inhale through into cobra, up dog, and exhale, floating back into downward facing dog. In your down dog, take the right leg and stretch it up high, three-legged dog. If you want to bend the right knee and open up, try to get the right hip a little higher than the left. It should feel really nice here. And level off the hips, step the right foot forward for Warrior 2. Let's turn the back heel down at that 90-degree angle, making sure the front knee is over the front ankle. And you try to get that thigh as parallel to the ground as possible, or just work to your best ability here. So we're trying to press the thighs open, keep the spine straight up and down, and then stretch those arms out. Warrior 2, steady. Relax the shoulders, soften your gaze over those right fingertips, and keep breathing. One more deep breath in through the nose, and out through the nose. All right, keeping that front knee still in the same position, take your right hand, reach it up towards the ceiling, and you can lean it back a little bit more, back and lightly sliding down the back leg for Revolve Warrior. Good. Inhale, coming back up. Place that right forearm on the right thigh. Take your left hand, reach it up towards the ceiling, and then sweep it forward. Keep pressing the left shoulder open. And then we're going to work that left shoulder joint. Take your left hand and sweep it down towards the ground, all the way back and forward. So working that left shoulder joint, full range of motion. Only that arm moving, everything else steady and still. And then we'll switch directions. Good. So as you're moving here, continue to breathe. If you want, you can stay right here in your side angle pose, which is nice. Or bring it into a half bind, taking your left arm across the low back. Have your palm facing outwards. Nice long neck, soft gaze. You're gonna take one more deep breath here. In through the nose. Slow exhale. All right, inhale, come on back up, straighten the front leg, and come into a triangle pose. So from here, you can place your left hand on the left thigh, left waist if you like. Just a soft triangle, or if you want, reach that left hand up and you get a full triangle pose. As you move here, as you hold it here, you want to make sure the spine is long. So very light in the spine, you don't want to collapse down into that right hand. And as an option, you can bring your hands into a prayer position, just holding it here. Keep breathing, using that core to stabilize. One more deep breath. You got it. Inhale, back up to standing. Exhale, bring those hands back down to the mat. And here we go, back into downward facing dog. Either stay in down dog or flowing. It's up to you how hard you want to push today. Take your vinyasa. Right, so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Take the left leg, stretch it up high, three-legged dog. Option to bend the left knee and open up. Try to get that left hip a little higher than the right. A nice opening to the inner thighs. You feel that the right inner thighs. Gosh, that feels good. Let's bring that left foot forward and come into that Warrior 2. Back heel down, opening up. Okay, so just take your time again. You want to make sure that the front knee is over the front ankle. Back leg is nice and strong. Pressing those thighs open. And then revolve it here, keeping front knee bend. Take the left hand, reach it up high, lean it back, back hand lightly touching that back leg. Good. Come on back up. Take a side angle pose. Place that left forearm on the left thigh. Take your right hand, reach it up and forward, pressing that right shoulder open. Let's work that right shoulder joint. Big circles. Right hand down towards the floor, all the way back and around. Good. And switch directions. Take your time. Okay. Now place that left arm across the low back. You can just stay where you are if you want, just with that right hand forward or bring it across the low back. Just hold it here. Keep breathing. One more. Carefully unwind and then all the way back up, straighten the front leg and look for a triangle pose. Bring the left hand down towards the left knee, shin or ankle, and a nice long spine, right? If you want, without moving the rest of the body, you can bring your hands into a prayer position, sustaining it here in a little bit of a float, using the core muscles. Just hold it here. Couple more deep breaths. All right, here we go. All the way back up to standing. And then you know what to do. You just make your way back down to the floor and take it back to downward facing dog. If you want, you can sneak in that vinyasa, low push-up, cobra up dog, and back into downward facing dog. At the end of this exhale, gaze in between the hands, step, hop, or walk your feet up to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale all the way back up. Stretch out and overhead, gentle back bend, and exhale back to the start. Okay, let's keep going here. Inhale, reach the arms overhead, big stretch. Exhale, fold, forward bend. Sinking into a chair pose, you can keep your hands in a prayer position or you can come into a thunderbolt instead. So with this one, you can reach your arms overhead, biceps by the ears and strong. One more deep breath. And exhale, let's fold into a forward bend. Walking your feet closer together so that you can squeeze those big toe mounds together. Squeezing the legs together, sink into chair pose once again. Bring your hands into prayer position and let that right shoulder drop so that your chest is facing the opposite side, so towards the left. Perhaps bring the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Okay, staying right here or option to extend the arms. If you want, you can bring that left arm across the low back into that half bind once again. Just hold it here. Keep pressing that left shoulder open just a little bit more. And exhale, release, fold into a forward bend. Soften here for a moment. Take those deep breaths. Release, one more deep breath. Okay, let's squeeze those big toe mounds together as you sink back into your chair pose, bringing your hands into prayer position. This time let that left shoulder drop. Again, it's just a slight twist here, or if you want a little bit more, you can bring that left elbow to the outside of the right knee and pressing open just a little bit more. Okay, option to extend those arms and then perhaps bring that right arm across the low back so you can press open just a little bit more here. And just shaking is normal. Keep breathing, one more deep breath and slow exhale. And very carefully unwind back to the center and fold into a forward bend. Walk those feet out a little wider for a steadier base and soften, relax the face. Soften the jaw and cheeks. Good. All right, let's keep going here. Hands in your shins, lift up halfway for flat back. Exhale, hands on the mat, step or hop back into high push-up position. Hit it right back to down dog or flowing low push-up, cobra up dog, and then back to downward facing dog. Stick that right leg, stretch it up high for three-legged dog. Okay. Draw that right knee in towards the belly, staying right here or shifting forward to hover. A strong exhale, take that right leg, stretch it up and back. Now let's keep going like this. Again, just shifting forward is fine. Okay. Just bring that right knee in. Shift forward for a little bit more. Let's do it one more time. Good. And then we'll bring that right foot forward to come into a warrior one. Right foot all the way up. Turn that back heel down. Okay, so strong. Come on up. Relax the shoulders, reach the arms overhead, your chest is facing forward. Again, you're doing your best with the legs. Okay. Maybe you can widen your stance, maybe it's too much. Do what you can. It's your own practice. Okay, let's take this into eagle arms. Bring your left elbow under the right. You might have to grab opposite shoulders. You can bring the back of the hands together or bring that left hand in towards the face and try to wrap the palms together. Okay. Optional, little bit of a back bend here by lifting the elbows and turning your gaze up, keeping the legs in the same position, and then level off. Okay, so we're going to come into a warrior tree. You can keep your arms in this position or you can stretch them out if you like. But from here, just turning your gaze, shifting your weight forward so that the right leg is taking most of the weight, and then you're just going to very carefully lift up to come into a warrior tree. And just doing your best here. It's okay if you can't come up too high. You just want to make sure you look for that straight line from the back heel towards the crown of the head. Good, stay here. One more deep breath. Okay, and let's release, lightly land back into a warrior one. And release those hands back down to the mat. Find your way back to downward facing dog. If you have to take breaks, come into child's pose. Resting there for about 3 breaths. It's a good place to rest, child's pose, any kind of child's pose. Find your way back to downward facing dog if you're in child's pose. All right, let's take that left leg, stretch it up high, three-legged dog. Draw that left knee into its navel, stay there or shift forward. Okay, let's stretch it up and back. Keep going. Let's do one more of those. And then your left foot will step forward for warrior ones. Left foot all the way up. Carefully turn that back heel down and come on up, warrior one. So with this, you're going to stay there. Bring that right elbow under the left. Just stay right here or add a little bit of a back bend by lifting the elbows and turning your gaze up. So your legs will remain in the same position. It's not going to move. It's just your upper body is going to move here. Okay, so ready? We're going to come into that warrior tree. From here, shifting forward. Shifting your weight forward and pushing off into that left leg. So just being very careful as you come into this. Again, just take your time. It's okay if you can't find it today. It's okay if you want to stretch those arms out and spread your wings instead. Okay, let's go one more deep breath. And very carefully land that back foot down, back into warrior one, and make your way back into downward facing dog. And just coming into that child's pose, softening into child's pose. Deep breaths, nice deep breaths to soften a little bit more. We're going to stretch out the shoulders, so coming into our hands and knees to come into a puppy dog pose. So from tabletop, walk your hands forward, inch them forward, keep them level to one another, and your hips are aligned over the knees as best as you can as you let your chest melt down towards the ground. So you might have to bring the forearms down into the ground for a softer version of this stretch, but if you need a little bit more, hands as straight and strong as you let that chest melt down. So you just hips nice and high, a little bit of a back bend, intense stretch to the shoulders. Good. One more deep breath here. Okay, let's come back up into a tabletop position. Walk your hands back in towards the knees. Keep the knees together, toes pointed as you sink back into child's pose with your arms by your heels, palms facing upwards. So we did the front of the body. I'm going to stretch out the back of the body, upper shoulders especially. Hold on to your heels, forehead on the ground, with your hands connected to your heels. Lift the hips off the mat and just feel that good stretch to the back of the body. It's as though you want to roll towards the crown of your head, even though you may never get there. Okay, good. Let's take a couple more deep breaths here. Enjoy the stretch. Good, and very carefully release back into child's pose. And we're going to walk forward, walk the hands forward so that you can rest on your belly. And we're going to stretch out the front of the shoulders this time, starting with a shoulder roll. So inch your body towards the right side of the mat and stretch your left arm out shoulder height. You're going to turn your gaze away from the arm, and with your other hand, roll back towards the center of the mat. So you may have to bend your knees slightly to do this, to keep stable. And it depends on how much of a shoulder stretch you need for the left side. Some of you may just roll slightly and you feel that and you'll stay where you are. If you need a little bit more, then you're going to come quite a bit, let the knees lift up quite a bit. You can even take the right arm and bring it across the low back and tuck it under the waist, just depending on your body. And just hold it here. It's intense. It's an intense stretch. Keep breathing. Good. And very carefully, we're going to unwind that, coming back onto the front and just turning your gaze back towards that left arm. And now let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Walk your body towards the left side of the mat. Reach your right arm out shoulder height, palms facing down. You're turning your gaze towards the left, away from that outstretched arm. Using your other hand, carefully press down into the floor to get that shoulder stretch again. It might just be a little here. You might have to stay right here. If you need a little bit more, then you'll take that left arm, reach it up towards the ceiling, bring it across the low back to get a little bit more. And then the more you have your knees rotated away from the floor, the deeper the stretch will be. But be very careful as you approach this stretch. Your left side might be different from your right. Okay, so just be very careful. Keep breathing. It's a pretty intense stretch. Good. One more deep breath. And then we're going to carefully unwind that, coming back to the front, and then just turning your gaze back towards that outstretched arm. Just for a moment. Just for a moment. And just soften. And we're going to come back towards the front. Good. Come back towards the center of the mat. And press back up into a tabletop position. Side settle and come into a comfortable seated position. And just seated comfortably, just take a moment to roll up the shoulders. Move your head side to side. And keep rolling up the shoulders, reversing directions. And if you need to, you can come on down to your back for Shavasana. It might be good to stay there for 2 or 3 breaths to finish off. If not, then I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy this class. Thank you very much for joining me.